My wife never let me near her farm for 23 years. When she died, I discovered why. I'm Trevor Ramsey, and Molly owned 900 acres of organic farmland that she inherited from her family. For over 2 decades, she'd lock the gates if I tried to visit. Said chemistry teachers don't belong on farms. Said I'd ruin her organic certification. I respected her wishes, trusted her completely. Never questioned why my own wife treated family property like a classified military base. Then cancer took her 3 weeks ago. The lawyer handed me inheritance papers to land I'd never seen, buildings I'd never entered, secrets that made my hands shake and my stomach turn. Because what I found wasn't just about organic farming. It was about family betrayal that went deeper than I ever imagined. It was about someone poisoning everything we'd built together. Someone who'd been lying to my face for years. If you're watching this, please subscribe. You're going to want to see how this ends. The first thing that shocked me was a single number, $6.8 million. That's what Molly's family farm is worth, according to the property assessment I found in her mailbox. I'm staring at this document with shaking hands. My wife left me nearly $7 million in California farmland, and I had no idea. I drive to my son Jared's house in my 12-year-old Honda Civic. He lives in a brand new development with a 3-car garage and a company BMW in the driveway. Agricorp Industries plates. Dad. Jared opens the door wearing clothes that cost more than my monthly pension. Mom's been gone 3 weeks. You should be grieving, not driving around asking questions. I got Mom's property assessment. Yeah, California land values are insane. Doesn't mean much, though. 6.8 million means something to me. Jared sighs like I'm a child who doesn't understand basic math. Dad, you taught high school chemistry for 40 years. I work with agricultural properties worth tens of millions. There's a difference between classroom knowledge and real business. We sit in his expensive living room. Everything's new, pristine. His wife's at her marketing job. Between her salary and Jared's $125,000 at Agricorp, they're doing well, but not buy a house in Sonoma County well. How often did you visit Mom's farm? I ask. I helped her with heavy lifting sometimes. Business consultations. What kind of business consultations? Agricultural efficiency. Mom was great at growing vegetables, but she didn't understand modern farming economics. I pull out my phone, show him something I found in Molly's papers. Phone records showing 87 calls to Agricorp's main line in her final 6 months. Why was Mom calling your company so much? She had questions about soil management. I gave her advice. What kind of advice? Dad, organic farming is financially irresponsible. Mom was sitting on almost $7 million of prime agricultural land, selling vegetables at farmers markets. It's like using a Ferrari to deliver newspapers. There's that tone, the same condescending patience he's used since college, like he's explaining something obvious to someone too slow to understand. Mom believed in organic farming. Mom was idealistic. Someone needed to think practically about the family's financial future. I noticed business cards on his kitchen counter. Agricorp Industries, Regional Sales Division. Underneath, another stack. Weston Blackwood, Acquisition Director. Who's Weston Blackwood? Jared glances at the counter. A colleague. We handle large property acquisitions together. Is Mom's farm a large property acquisition? Dad, you're getting paranoid. Mom just died. You're not thinking clearly. But I am thinking clearly. I'm remembering our last family dinner before Molly got sick. Jared spent the entire evening explaining why organic farming was inefficient hippie nonsense. How traditional methods were holding back agricultural progress. How sometimes families need to make difficult decisions for financial security. I drive home thinking about that conversation, about the BMW in Jared's driveway, about his house that cost more than my teacher's pension should afford, about his sudden interest in Mom's business decisions over the past 2 years, and I'm thinking about the locked office in Molly's farmhouse that I haven't opened yet. The key ring has 9 keys on it. I've only been inside the main house so far. Tomorrow, I'm driving to the farm for my second visit ever. The first time Molly wasn't there to stop me. Something tells me she left more than just property value assessments for me to find. The farmhouse office tells a different story than the property assessment. Inside Molly's locked filing cabinet, I find folders organized by date going back 18 months. Each contains soil test results from different sections of the farm. Independent agricultural analysis, Sacramento. Professional letterhead, detailed chemical breakdowns. The results make no sense. I taught chemistry for 4 decades. I know how to read spectral analysis. These reports show contamination that should be impossible on certified organic land. Glyphosate residue at 340% above EPA safety limits. Atrazine compounds. Industrial herbicides that would destroy organic certification instantly. But the contamination isn't random. It follows precise grid patterns across the property, like someone was working from a systematic plan. Another folder contains legal correspondence, letters from the Sonoma County Agricultural Commissioner about potential certification violations, warning notices about soil contamination, all addressed to Molly, all recent. My phone rings. Bill Henderson, who owns the neighboring property. Trevor, sorry to bother you so soon after losing Molly. It's okay, Bill. I wanted to ask about those corporate visitors who've been coming to your place. They stopped by yesterday asking about my property boundaries. What corporate visitors? Folks in white SUVs. Been showing up regularly for months. Figured you knew about it. I hang up and walk the property for the first time in my life. From the house, everything looks normal. Organic vegetables growing in neat rows. But as I get closer, I notice dead patches. Brown spots where nothing grows. Soil that looks burned. There's a storage building I've never seen. Inside, I find industrial equipment I don't recognize. Chemical spraying apparatus, containers labeled with compounds I barely understand, and stacked in the corner, invoices from Agricorp Industries. The invoices are for agricultural consultation services, 42 separate charges over 18 months, each signed by J. Ramsey. My son has been poisoning his mother's farm. I sit on the farmhouse steps trying to process this. Jared works for Agricorp. Agricorp wants agricultural land. Contaminate the soil enough, and organic certification becomes impossible. Force a sale to the only buyer willing to deal with contaminated property, which would be Agricorp. My phone buzzes. Text from Jared. Dad, we need to have a family meeting. Tomorrow 2 p.m. Important decisions about Mom's estate. I text back. What decisions? The kind that determines whether we're smart about Mom's legacy or we waste it on sentimental nonsense. I walk back through fields that Molly spent decades building, past vegetables she nurtured from seed, past soil she treated like sacred ground. These crops feed families at farmers markets across Sonoma County, people who trust the Ramsey name, trust that our organic certification means something, trust that what they're buying is clean, safe, sustainable. If Agricorp gets this land, 920 acres become industrial agriculture overnight. Chemical pesticides, GMO crops, everything Molly fought against her entire adult life. But there's something else in Molly's files, something that makes this deeply personal. Bank statements for an account I didn't know existed. Wells Fargo business checking in Molly's name only. The account shows regular deposits from environmental impact research, large amounts totaling over $200,000 in the past year. The withdrawals all go to the same place. Jared Ramsey, personal checking account. My son wasn't just helping Agricorp poison the farm, he was being paid by his own mother to do it, which means Molly knew what Jared was doing, knew about the systematic contamination. Maybe even commissioned it. But why would she pay him to destroy her life's work? I checked the deposit dates against Molly's medical records. The payments started 18 months ago, the same time she was diagnosed with cancer, the same time Jared began his consulting work. Tomorrow's family meeting isn't about estate decisions. It's about a plan that's already 18 months in motion. A plan Molly was funding from the beginning. The question is, was she protecting the farm or selling it? I find one more thing in her desk, a safety deposit box key taped under the drawer. Sonoma County Credit Union, Box number 847. Whatever Molly was really planning, the full truth is in that box. But I'm starting to understand something that makes my stomach turn. My wife didn't keep me away from this farm to protect her organic certification. She kept me away to hide what she and my son were planning together. Jared arrives at my house the next afternoon with a leather briefcase and corporate confidence. He's dressed for business. Everything about his posture says he's in control. Dad, I know you've been exploring Mom's property. I've been learning things. Good. Then you understand the situation we're facing. Which situation is that? The one where Mom left you $7 million in agricultural real estate that's being completely underutilized. I set my phone on the coffee table. Recording app visible. Jared notices, but doesn't object. Tell me about your consulting work on Mom's farm. What consulting work? The invoices I found. 42 payments from AgriCorp. Jared opens his briefcase. Dad, I was helping Mom understand modern agricultural practices. She asked me to evaluate the property for better productivity. With industrial herbicides? A pause, half a second too long. I don't know what you mean. Soil tests show glyphosate contamination 3 times EPA limits. Those tests are probably inaccurate. I taught chemistry for 40 years. I know contamination when I see it. High school chemistry is an agricultural science. Poison is poison, Jared. Dad, you're being dramatic. Modern agriculture isn't poison. Then what would you call it? Efficiency, optimization, preparing land for its highest and best use. Whose highest and best use? He closes the briefcase. Too controlled, rehearsed. Dad, AgriCorp has made a generous offer for Mom's property. How generous? $6.8 million, full assessed value. For contaminated land? For land with commercial development potential. Development into what? High-yield agricultural production, industrial scale, local jobs, county tax revenue. I pull out the bank statement showing Molly's payments to him. What about the $200,000 Mom paid you? His composure cracks slightly. That was reimbursement for consulting services. What services? Market analysis, soil optimization, strategic planning. Strategic planning to poison Mom's farm? Dad, you're not listening. This isn't about poison, it's about progress. Progress for who? Progress for the family, for you. Mom understood that. Mom understood what? That organic farming is a luxury this family can't afford. Medical bills wiped out her savings. Property taxes are killing us. This farm bleeds money every month. How would you know? You never saw Mom's books? She showed me, asked my opinion about financial options. And your opinion was contaminate the soil? My opinion was maximize property value. AgriCorp can handle any remediation issues. After they buy below market price? Dad, they're offering full market price. For land you made worthless for organic farming. For land that was already underperforming financially. According to who? According to basic economics. Organic vegetables make pennies per acre. Industrial agriculture makes real money. I stand up, walk to the window, count to 10 like I used to do with difficult students. Jared, did you contaminate Mom's soil deliberately? I optimized Mom's soil for future commercial use. Did AgriCorp pay you to poison the farm? I received compensation for professional consulting services. While working for the company that wants to buy the farm? While helping a family member make intelligent financial decisions. By destroying her life's work? His voice gets louder. By saving the family from financial disaster. What financial disaster? The disaster of spending 40 years growing vegetables for health food stores instead of building real wealth. There it is. The contempt he's been hiding behind corporate language. The attitude Molly tried to warn me about. You think your mother was foolish. I think my mother was impractical. You think I'm foolish. I think you're naive about business realities. What business realities? Companies like AgriCorp employ thousands of people. Industrial agriculture feeds millions. Practical solutions matter more than sentimental environmental idealism. I sit back down. So you poisoned Mom's farm to save us from ourselves. I prepared Mom's farm for its optimal economic use, which happens to benefit AgriCorp, which happens to benefit our family financially. Money we'll get from selling contaminated land to your employer. Money we'll get from making smart business decisions instead of emotional ones. I reach for my phone. Stop the recording. Jared, you know what the difference is between you and me? What's that? You think 40 years of teaching chemistry makes me naive about business, doesn't it? Actually, it taught me how to recognize lies. His confidence wavers. What lies? I smile. The kind your mother was very good at documenting. What do you mean? I mean, Mom wasn't paying you to contaminate her farm. Yes, she was. No, Jared, she was paying you to contaminate her farm while she gathered evidence to destroy you and Agricorp. The color drains from his face. That's impossible? Is it? Did you really think a woman who built a successful organic farm over 20 years would suddenly decide to poison it for money? She said she wanted to sell. She said a lot of things. The question is, what did she record while she was saying them? Jared stares at me. What are you talking about? Tomorrow, we're visiting Mom's safety deposit box together. What safety deposit box? The one where she kept the real evidence. That night, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about Molly's last months. How secretive she became. How she'd lock herself in the farmhouse office for hours. How she started asking detailed questions about my chemistry background. Questions that seemed random at the time. Trevor, how long do industrial chemicals persist in soil? How would you detect systematic contamination versus accidental exposure? What kind of evidence would prove deliberate poisoning? I thought she was curious about environmental science. Turns out she was planning a criminal investigation. The next morning, I drive to Sonoma County Credit Union. The safety deposit box is small, but packed with documents I've never seen. The first folder is labeled Legal Strategy, Confidential. Inside, a letter addressed to me in Molly's handwriting. Trevor, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone and you've discovered Jared's betrayal. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you what was happening while I was alive. I'm sorry I had to lie about keeping you away from the farm, and I'm sorry about what you're going to learn about our son. But I need you to understand, everything I did was to protect what we built together. Every lie, every secret, every payment to Jared. I was buying time and gathering evidence. Jared approached me 18 months ago with Agricorp's offer. They wanted our land but couldn't afford market price for organic certified property, so they developed a plan. Gradually contaminate the soil to void certification. Create financial pressure through declining productivity. Force a sale at below market rates. Jared thought I was a naive old woman who could be manipulated into cooperating. He thought paying me regular consulting fees would keep me quiet while he poisoned our soil. He was wrong. Every conversation I had with Jared about the contamination plan, I recorded. Every document he showed me, I copied. Every phone call with Agricorp executives, I saved. Every chemical application he made, I photographed. The evidence in this box will destroy Agricorp's conspiracy and send your son to federal prison. But Trevor, you can't just expose them and walk away. Agricorp has resources, political connections. They'll fight back with everything they have. You'll need allies. You'll need expert witnesses. You'll need someone who understands environmental law. Call Evan Carter at Carter & Associates. He was my law partner for 12 years before I retired to focus on farming. I've been sending him copies of everything for 6 months. He knows the whole story and has contacts at the EPA. Call Dr. Ziva Thompson at UC Davis Agricultural Sciences. She was my college roommate. I've been consulting with her about soil remediation strategies. She'll provide expert testimony about the contamination patterns. Jared thinks he's smarter than both of us. He thinks chemistry teachers and retired farmers don't understand real business. He thinks his corporate training makes him untouchable. That's his weakness, his arrogance. Use it. I love you. I couldn't fight this battle while dying from cancer, but I made sure you'd have everything needed to win it after I'm gone. I sit in the credit union parking lot reading this letter 3 times. My wife wasn't a naive farmer who got manipulated by our son. She was a retired environmental lawyer who spent her final months building a federal criminal case. The rest of the box contains what she promised: USB drives with audio recordings, file folders with bank records, photographs of Jared applying chemicals to organic soil, email correspondence between AgriCorp executives discussing acceleration of contamination timeline, and business cards. Evan Carter, Environmental Law, Dr. Ziva Thompson, Agricultural Sciences, 2 phone numbers that will turn my son from predator into prey. But first, I need to understand exactly what Molly recorded during those 18 months of cooperation with Jared's plan. I drive home and plug in the first USB drive. The first audio file is labeled Jared Confession Number 1, March 15th. I press play and hear my son's voice clearly explaining how AgriCorp's contamination strategy works, in his own words, confessing to environmental crimes, while my dying wife secretly documented every detail. Saturday morning, community center meeting that Jared organized without asking me. Time to discuss the family's future, he said. Important people need to understand our situation. I arrived to find 47 neighbors scattered across folding chairs, people who've known our family for decades, local farmers who trusted Molly's organic certification, community members who bought vegetables at farmers markets. Jared enters with Weston Blackwood, the AgriCorp acquisition director, from the business cards. Expensive suit, corporate briefcase, the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. Behind them, a young woman sets up a laptop and portable projector. They arrange themselves at the front, like this is a boardroom presentation, not a community center where Molly organized environmental fundraisers for 20 years. Weston steps to the microphone. Good morning, everyone. I'm Weston Blackwood, Acquisition Director for AgriCorp Industries. I'm here to present an exciting economic development opportunity for Sonoma County. He clicks a remote. PowerPoint slide appears on the wall. Ramsey Property Development Initiative. The Ramsey family has partnered with AgriCorp to transform 920 acres of underutilized farmland into a state-of-the-art agricultural facility that will create jobs, increase tax revenue, and modernize food production. I feel the room's attention shift toward me. Confused whispers. No one knew about this partnership except Jared and AgriCorp. Next slide. Economic impact projections. Charts showing job creation, tax benefits, infrastructure investment. This facility will employ approximately 200 full-time workers. Annual payroll of $8.2 million. Property tax contribution of $450,000 annually. Bill Henderson raises his hand. What kind of agricultural facility? High-efficiency food production, climate-controlled growing environments, automated systems, 21st century precision agriculture. What happens to the organic certification? Weston glances at Jared. Unfortunately, recent soil testing has revealed contamination issues that compromise the current organic status. Our facility will remediate these problems while implementing more productive farming methods. Margaret Wilson, who manages the farmers market, stands up. What contamination? Molly's farm has been certified organic for over 20 years. Ma'am, these environmental issues developed recently. Jared, would you address the technical concerns? My son walks to the microphone with practiced confidence. Over the past 18 months, we've discovered significant soil contamination that threatens our organic certification. Independent testing shows chemical residue levels exceeding EPA guidelines for organic agriculture. Next slide, soil test results. The same contamination reports I found in Molly's files. These contamination levels make continued organic farming impossible. However, AgriCorp specializes in environmental remediation and can restore this land to productive agricultural use. Tom Rodriguez, an elderly organic farmer, stands up. Jared, your mother never mentioned contamination problems. She spoke at our sustainable agriculture meeting last year about soil health. My mother was hopeful about remediation possibilities. She thought we could solve the problem quietly. Unfortunately, the contamination has spread beyond what small-scale methods can address. The room grows uncomfortable. People shifting, murmuring, exchanging worried looks. Weston reclaims the microphone. I understand this news is unexpected. Change is challenging, but AgriCorp is prepared to offer the Ramsey family full market value, $6.8 million. This allows them to relocate while providing land for this important economic development project. Margaret Wilson raises her hand again. What about environmental impact? This area has been sustainably farmed for decades. Ma'am, our facility will actually reduce environmental impact. Controlled environments require fewer chemicals. Automated systems use water more efficiently. Modern agriculture is cleaner agriculture. I stand up. The room turns toward me. Excuse me, Weston. Yes, sir, Mr. Ramsey, I'm pleased you're here. This project depends on your family's cooperation. I have questions about the contamination. Of course. If AgriCorp specializes in environmental remediation, how do you plan to address glyphosate contamination at 340% above EPA safety limits? Weston pauses. I'm sorry? The soil tests show glyphosate at 340% above safe levels. Atrazine compounds, industrial herbicides. How exactly do you remediate that level of contamination? Well, various technical approaches are available. I'm a retired chemistry teacher. I'd like specific technical details. Longer pause. Mr. Ramsey, perhaps we should discuss complex technical matters privately. The community doesn't need to be concerned with detailed chemical processes. The community has every right to know what chemicals are contaminating their neighborhood, especially since this happened on supposedly organic land. Jared steps forward. Dad, this isn't the appropriate forum for technical discussions. Isn't it? You're asking these people to support development on contaminated land. Don't they deserve to know how that contamination occurred? Dead silence. 47 people watching a family argument becomes something much bigger. Weston clears his throat. Mr. Ramsey, contamination can result from various environmental factors. Groundwater migration, atmospheric drift, historical agricultural practices. Historical practices? Interesting theory. I pull out my phone, open the audio recording from Molly's USB drive. Jared, would you like to explain what you meant when you told Mom that you were optimizing soil chemistry for AgriCorp acquisition? My son's face goes pale. Dad, you're taking things out of context. Am I? You also mentioned receiving performance bonuses for meeting contamination targets. How much did AgriCorp pay you? This is private family business. Is it? You're asking our neighbors to support public development based on contamination you may have caused deliberately. Weston moves between us. Mr. Ramsey, there seems to be family miscommunication. Perhaps we should postpone this presentation until personal issues are resolved. No miscommunication. Simple question. Did AgriCorp pay my son to contaminate our farm so you could buy it at reduced value? Sir, that's a serious accusation. It's a serious federal crime. The room erupts, neighbors talking over each other, questions shouted toward the front. Margaret demanding answers, Bill asking about property values, Tom wondering whether contamination threatens neighboring organic farms. Weston starts packing equipment. Ladies and gentlemen, there are obviously family dynamics that need private resolution. AgriCorp will reschedule this presentation when appropriate. But Jared doesn't move. He's staring at me with something I've never seen before. Not just anger, fear. Dad, you don't understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly. You're destroying our family's financial future. I'm protecting our family's integrity. Mom wanted this sale. Did she? Or did she want something else entirely? What do you mean? I smile. Tomorrow morning, you're going to find out exactly what your mother wanted. The community center empties slowly. People lingering, whispering, watching to see what happens next between the chemistry teacher and his corporate executive son. What they don't know yet is that this isn't about family disagreement. It's about federal crimes, environmental law violations, corporate conspiracy, and my wife's 18-month investigation that documented every detail. Sunday morning, I called Jared and tell him to meet me at the farm at 10 a.m. Time you learned what Mom really left us. He arrives looking tired, stressed. The corporate confidence from yesterday's presentation has been replaced by something that looks like worry. Dad, we need to resolve this misunderstanding before it gets out of hand. What misunderstanding? Your conspiracy theories about AgriCorp, your accusations about contamination, it's making the situation complicated. The situation's already complicated, Jared. I walk him to the farmhouse office, spread Molly's evidence across her desk like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Your mother left us more than just property. Bank records showing $182,000 in payments from Molly to Jared. Soil contamination reports documenting systematic poisoning. Photographs of Jared applying industrial chemicals to organic farmland. Dad, I can explain all this? Can you explain this? I press play on the first audio recording. Jared's voice fills the room clear as day. Mom, AgriCorp's timeline requires accelerated soil degradation. We need contamination levels high enough to void certification within 6 months. The bonus structure is tied to contamination benchmarks. Jared goes pale. You recorded our conversations? Your mother recorded them, every single one. Next recording. The glyphosate applications are working perfectly. Soil tests show EPA violations across 12 grid sections. Weston says we're ahead of schedule for forced sale. She was dying. She wasn't thinking clearly. She was thinking clearly enough to build a federal criminal case against you. A car pulls into the driveway. Honda Accord. Middle-aged man in a professional suit gets out carrying a briefcase. That would be Evan Carter, your mother's former law partner. Jared stares through the window. Mom didn't have a law partner. She was a farmer. Your mother was an environmental lawyer for 27 years before she became a farmer. Evan walks into the office like he owns the place. Trevor? Jared? He nods professionally. I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances. Who are you? Jared asks. Evan Carter, environmental law. I worked with your mother from 1995 to 2010 before she retired to focus on sustainable agriculture. Evan opens his briefcase. Molly was one of the finest environmental attorneys on the West Coast. She specialized in corporate agricultural crimes, won major settlements against Dow Chemical, Monsanto, and yes, AgriCorp Industries. He pulls out a thick folder. She spent the last 18 months of her life documenting a criminal conspiracy between AgriCorp and her son to defraud the family estate and violate federal environmental protection laws. This is ridiculous, Jared says. Mom was just a farmer who grew vegetables. Your mother grew vegetables after retiring from environmental law. She never stopped being a lawyer. Evan spreads documents across the desk. 156 recorded conversations between Jared Ramsey and AgriCorp employees. Complete documentation of deliberate soil contamination designed to destroy organic certification. Bank records showing $182,000 in corporate bribes over 18 months. Another folder. Email correspondence between Weston Blackwood and AgriCorp regional managers discussing acceleration of contamination targets. Text messages where Jared explicitly describes preparing soil chemistry for corporate acquisition. These are private corporate communications, Jared protests. No, these are criminal communications obtained through legal surveillance by a property owner protecting her land from corporate conspiracy. Evan pulls out another file. We also have security camera footage from 15 locations across the property. 18 months of video evidence showing systematic application of industrial chemicals to certified organic farmland. I watch my son's corporate composure completely disintegrate. The successful executive facade disappears. He looks like a scared kid caught cheating. I can explain everything. Can you? Can you explain why you poisoned your dying mother's life work for corporate money? It wasn't like that. What was it like? Evan intervenes. Jared, I strongly recommend consulting with a criminal attorney before making any statements. You're facing potential federal charges for environmental crimes, fraud, conspiracy, and violation of the RICO Act. Another car in the driveway. Toyota Camry. A woman in her 50s gets out carrying scientific equipment. Dr. Ziva Thompson, I announce. Agricultural Sciences. UC Davis? Jared looks confused. Who? Your mother's college roommate, the expert witness who's been analyzing soil contamination patterns for the EPA. Dr. Thompson enters the office with academic authority. As someone used to presenting research findings to people who might not want to hear them. Trevor, I'm Ziva. Molly sent me detailed soil samples for 6 months before she passed. I've been documenting contamination evidence for federal investigators. She sets up a laptop connected to a portable spectrometer. Would you like to see what systematic chemical warfare looks like at the molecular level? The screen displays chemical signatures, graphs, data showing contamination patterns too precise to be accidental. This level of glyphosate contamination doesn't occur naturally. The distribution pattern indicates systematic application across predetermined grid coordinates. Someone was following a detailed plan. Next screen. Furthermore, the contamination includes compounds not used in standard agriculture, industrial solvents, heavy metal additives, chemicals specifically designed to render soil unsuitable for organic certification. Dr. Thompson, Jared interrupts weakly, chain of custody issues make this evidence inadmissible. Mr. Ramsey, these samples were collected by the legal property owner and analyzed by EPA-certified laboratories. Chain of custody was maintained according to federal evidence standards. This documentation is admissible in both criminal and civil proceedings. Moreover, she continues, your contamination pattern has rendered 920 acres unsuitable for organic farming for a minimum of 8 years. Remediation costs exceed $3 million, and the contamination has reached groundwater serving 6 neighboring properties. Groundwater contamination? I ask. I'm afraid so. We're looking at a regional environmental disaster affecting multiple organic farms, residential wells, and the county aquifer. Evan closes one folder, opens another. Which brings us to the federal charges. Environmental Protection Agency, criminal conspiracy to violate the Clean Water Act, the Federal Insecticide Act, and the Organic Foods Production Act. The FBI's White-Collar Crime Division, mail fraud for using postal services to coordinate the conspiracy, wire fraud for electronic communications, RICO violations for operating a criminal enterprise. He slides a document across the desk. We've already filed preliminary reports with federal prosecutors. This isn't a family dispute anymore. It's a federal criminal investigation. My phone buzzes. Text message. Unknown number. Agent Patricia Morgan, FBI, arriving in 15 minutes for evidence collection as scheduled. I look up at Jared. Your mother's investigation didn't just gather evidence. She turned it over to federal law enforcement. A white SUV pulls into the driveway. Government plates. 2 people in suits get out. That would be the FBI. Jared stares through the window as Agent Morgan and her partner approach the farmhouse. Dad, what do I do? You cooperate completely. You tell the truth about AgriCorp's conspiracy. You help prosecutors understand how corporate environmental crimes work. What if I don't? Evan answers. Then you face the full federal prosecution. Environmental crimes carry 5 to 10 years. Fraud adds another 3 to 5. Conspiracy charges could double those sentences. Agent Morgan knocks on the door. Professional, efficient, someone who's done this many times before. Mr. Ramsey, Agent Patricia Morgan, FBI Environmental Crime Task Force. We're here to collect evidence in the AgriCorp investigation. I open the door. Agent Morgan, this is my son Jared. He has some information about AgriCorp's operations that might interest you. She looks at Jared. Mr. Ramsey, you have the right to remain silent. You also have the right to cooperate with federal investigators. Which would you prefer? Jared looks at me, at Evan, at Dr. Thompson, at 18 months of evidence documenting his crimes. I want to cooperate. Excellent. Let's start with how AgriCorp recruited you to contaminate your family's property. Monday morning, FBI Field Office, Santa Rosa. Agent Morgan leads Jared and me into a conference room overlooking the Sonoma County Courthouse. She's reviewed all of Molly's evidence over the weekend. Every recorded conversation, every bank transaction, every photograph of systematic soil contamination. Mr. Ramsey, your wife documented one of the most comprehensive environmental crime cases we've investigated. She arranges files across the conference table. She built a federal prosecution while dying of cancer, evidence that would take our investigators months to compile. What happens now? I ask. We execute simultaneous search warrants at AgriCorp's regional headquarters and Mr. Blackwood's residence, seize computers, phones, financial records, interview co-conspirators before they can coordinate defense strategies. She looks at Jared. Your cooperation determines your sentencing recommendations. Complete testimony about AgriCorp's conspiracy might result in reduced charges. Continued denials or lies will result in maximum federal prosecution. What am I facing? Environmental crimes under the Clean Water Act, 5 to 10 years. Mail and wire fraud, 3 to 5 years each. Conspiracy charges, additional 5 to 7 years. RICO violations for criminal enterprise, up to 20 years. Jared goes pale. How much time is that total? 48 years maximum, 12 years minimum with cooperation and plea agreement. Agent Morgan slides a cooperation agreement across the table. Full disclosure of AgriCorp's operations, complete testimony about recruitment, training, payment structure, assistance with investigation of other targeted properties. Other properties? Mr. Ramsey, your mother's farm was AgriCorp's pilot program. Internal communications show plans to target dozens of organic farms across California, Oregon, and Washington. Your testimony could prevent environmental crimes against other families. Jared reads the agreement slowly. What exactly do you need to know? Start with how Weston Blackwood approached you. About 2 years ago, called me into his office at AgriCorp headquarters, said there was a special opportunity for employees with family connections to high-value agricultural properties. What opportunity? Help AgriCorp acquire prime farmland at below-market prices, in exchange for promotion opportunities and performance bonuses. What did you have to do? Gradually degrade soil quality on family properties to force sales to AgriCorp at reduced values. Agent Morgan takes notes. Who else was involved in this conspiracy? Weston Blackwood, obviously. Jennifer Torres, regional sales coordinator. Someone in corporate legal named Patricia Henderson, but I only communicated with her through email. Maybe others in upper management, but I never met them directly. How many properties were targeted? Ours was the test case. If successful, they planned to recruit employees with family connections to organic farms throughout the region. I saw target lists with over 30 properties. 30 properties? High-value organic farms near urban areas, places where industrial agriculture would be more profitable than sustainable farming. Agent Morgan stops writing. You're describing a systematic conspiracy to destroy organic agriculture across the Pacific Northwest. I thought it was just business development. Business development? You poisoned your dying mother's farm. Jared stares at the table. I thought she understood the financial benefits. She was paying me consulting fees. She said she wanted to maximize the estate value but needed time to plan the transition. She was gathering evidence. I understand that now. Agent Morgan opens another file. Let's discuss the contamination process. How specifically did you poison the soil? Monthly applications of glyphosate mixed with industrial surfactants. Systematic grid pattern across the property to ensure uniform contamination. Gradual dosage increases to avoid detection while building EPA violation levels. Where did you obtain industrial chemicals? AgriCorp provided everything, delivered to a storage facility off-site, then transported to the farm during evening applications. Evening applications? Mom was usually at medical appointments. I had access codes to the property gates. Who provided the access codes? Mom did. She said she wanted me to monitor soil conditions regularly. Agent Morgan slides photographs across the table. Security camera images of Jared applying chemicals to farmland. Your mother was documenting your crimes in real time. She said the cameras were for farm security. They were. Security against you. Dr. Thompson's voice comes from the speakerphone. She's participating remotely from UC Davis. Agent Morgan, I have the final contamination analysis. The systematic poisoning has rendered the property unsuitable for organic certification for minimum 8 years. Remediation costs will exceed $3.2 million. Dr. Thompson, what about groundwater impact? Contamination has reached the regional aquifer. 6 neighboring properties show elevated chemical levels. We're recommending EPA Superfund designation for comprehensive environmental cleanup. Agent Morgan looks at Jared. Superfund designation means federal environmental disaster status. Cleanup costs in excess of $50 million. Your contamination didn't just destroy one farm, you poisoned an entire region. I didn't know about groundwater seepage. Environmental crimes don't require intent regarding secondary damage. You're responsible for all consequences of your criminal actions. My phone rings. Evan Carter. Trevor, I'm at AgriCorp headquarters with federal marshals executing search warrants. We've seized over 2,000 documents, 47 computers, and backup servers containing evidence of the broad-daughter conspiracy. What did you find? Email communications showing systematic targeting of organic farms. Financial records documenting bribes to at least 12 different employees with agricultural family connections. Internal memos discussing environmental degradation strategies for forcing property sales. Weston Blackwood, arrested this morning at his residence, attempting to delete files when agents arrived. Digital forensics recovered everything. Agent Morgan takes the phone. Mr. Carter, what's the scope of AgriCorp's conspiracy? 43 targeted properties across 3 states. Estimated economic damage exceeding $200 million. Environmental damage affecting thousands of acres of certified organic farmland. How many co-conspirators? At least 18 AgriCorp employees, potentially dozens of family members who participated in soil contamination. This is the largest corporate environmental crime conspiracy we've documented. Agent Morgan hangs up, looks at Jared. Mr. Ramsey, your cooperation just became essential for prosecuting a multi-state criminal enterprise. Are you prepared to testify against everyone involved? Jared signs the cooperation agreement. I'll tell you everything. 6 months later, the consequences ripple far beyond Sonoma County. Weston Blackwood pleads guilty to federal environmental crimes, conspiracy, and RICO violations. 7 years in federal prison. Forfeiture of all assets, including his house, cars, and retirement accounts. Total restitution payments of $6.8 million to affected property owners. The Sacramento Business Journal headline reads, AgriCorp executive sentenced in environmental crime conspiracy. The article details how systematic soil contamination was designed to force organic farms into bankruptcy, allowing industrial agriculture acquisition at below-market prices. Jennifer Torres cooperates with prosecutors in exchange for reduced charges. 2 years supervised probation, permanent prohibition from agricultural industry employment, required to testify against upper management in ongoing federal trials. But the real consequences extend far beyond individual prosecutions. The FBI investigation exposes AgriCorp's systematic conspiracy across 3 states. 43 organic farms targeted for environmental destruction. 18 company employees recruited to poison family properties. Economic damage exceeding $250 million. All 43 families join a federal class action lawsuit demanding comprehensive damages. AgriCorp faces bankruptcy unless they can restructure debt and settle environmental claims. The company's stock price has collapsed 72%. Major institutional investors have divested completely. Credit rating agencies have downgraded corporate bonds to junk status. AgriCorp's CEO resigns in disgrace. Congressional hearings investigate corporate environmental crimes in agriculture. The EPA establishes new regulations protecting organic farms from corporate manipulation. Jared serves 18 months in federal minimum security prison. Early release for extensive cooperation with ongoing investigations of other targeted families. He's out now, living in a studio apartment, working at a garden center for $15 an hour. His agricultural career is finished. His corporate connections are worthless. His confident executive demeanor has been replaced by something that looks like genuine humility. He calls every Sunday. Awkward conversations about weather, work, whether I'm eating enough vegetables from the farmer's market. Neither of us discusses the farm. Neither of us mentions Molly. But he keeps calling, and I keep answering. Maybe that's enough for now. The farm has been transformed. UC Davis Agricultural Sciences establishes the Molly Ramsey Center for Environmental Recovery. Their partnership provides $3.4 million over 7 years for research into reversing corporate environmental crimes against organic agriculture. Graduate students work in our fields testing innovative bioremediation techniques, introducing beneficial microorganisms, neutralizing chemical contamination through natural soil processes. monitoring recovery week by week as contamination levels steadily decrease. Dr. Ziva Thompson visits monthly, overseeing research that's showing remarkable results. Glyphosate levels down 82% in 8 months. Atrazine compounds completely eliminated. Heavy metal contamination contained and decreasing rapidly. We'll have full organic recertification within 3 years, she tells me during her latest visit. The techniques we're developing here could help hundreds of other properties affected by corporate environmental crimes. The community response has been extraordinary. Margaret Wilson organizes monthly fundraisers for organic farmers, dealing with contamination issues, raised over $75,000 for families fighting corporate environmental destruction. Bill Henderson coordinates regional groundwater monitoring systems with neighboring farms, early detection networks to prevent future corporate poisoning attempts. Tom Rodriguez starts the Pacific Northwest Organic Defense Alliance, information sharing among sustainable farmers about corporate acquisition pressure, a warning system to protect other families from facing what we endured. The Saturday Farmers Market features a permanent booth, Ramsey Recovery Farm. We sell vegetables grown in remediated test plots with detailed information about environmental restoration progress. People buy produce to support the research, but also to demonstrate community commitment to sustainable agriculture. Local environmental organizations use our story as evidence for stronger agricultural protection laws. Speaking engagements at universities, conservation groups, policy conferences, the quiet chemistry teacher has become an unexpected advocate for environmental justice. But the most meaningful consequence is personal understanding. I comprehend Molly's choices now. Her secrecy wasn't betrayal, it was strategic warfare. She couldn't confront Jared directly without losing evidence needed to stop AgriCorp's broader conspiracy. She couldn't tell me what was happening without compromising the federal investigation she was building. She spent her final months protecting not just our family's legacy, but dozens of other families she'd never met. And she did it all while letting Jared believe she supported his plan. That level of self-control, that commitment to justice over personal satisfaction, that sacrifice of immediate comfort for long-term protection, that's the legacy she left. Yesterday, I received a letter from EPA Administrator Sarah Chen. New federal regulations for monitoring corporate conflicts of interest in agricultural acquisitions. The Ramsey Protocol requires disclosure when company employees have family connections to targeted properties. Small bureaucratic change. But it means other families might avoid what we survived. Your wife's investigation continues protecting agricultural communities nationwide. The letter concludes, her work extends far beyond Sonoma County. I frame the letter and hang it in Molly's old office next to our original organic certification and the UC Davis Research Partnership Agreement. Full circle. Environmental destruction through corporate greed. Recovery through legal justice and scientific innovation. Exactly as Molly planned. 1 year after Jared's release, he asked to visit the farm. We meet at the main gate, the same entrance Molly used to protect from corporate contamination. Now it welcomes university researchers while keeping out environmental criminals. It looks completely different, he says. UC Davis installed environmental monitoring stations, bioremediation test plots, solar panels powering the research laboratory, graduate student housing. We walk through fields that are actively healing, healthy vegetables growing in soil that's systematically forgetting the poison he introduced. Dad, I need to ask something that's been bothering me. What's that? Do you think Mom ever forgave me? I think about Molly's letter, her final strategy, how she protected him even while building evidence to prosecute him. I think your mother understood that decent people can make terrible decisions when manipulated by powerful institutions. Do you forgive me? I think you're asking the wrong question. What's the right question? The right question is, what are you going to do with your second chance? Jared looks across fields where graduate students collect soil samples, measuring recovery, documenting environmental restoration. I've been accepted to UC Davis Environmental Science Program, graduate school, Research focus on corporate environmental crime prevention. That's meaningful work. Would you write a recommendation letter? Would you trust a chemistry teacher's opinion about environmental science programs? He almost smiles. I think I seriously underestimated what chemistry teachers understand about real-world problems. We walk back toward the gate. 40 years of teaching patience, 2 years of legal warfare, one family's journey from corporate manipulation to environmental justice. Jared, your mother would want you to understand something important. What's that? She didn't gather evidence to destroy you. She gathered evidence to save you. Save me from what? From becoming someone who destroys what they love for money. He gets in his car, drives away, but he'll return, not because he has to, but because he chooses to. Because redemption requires sustained effort, not single gestures. I lock the gate and walk back through fields that represent more than agricultural recovery. They represent the power of preparation over impulse, evidence over emotion, long-term justice over short-term satisfaction, 40 years of teaching patience, 2 years of learning legal strategy. One wife's final lesson about fighting battles: you can win instead of battles that feel satisfying. If someone in your family ever tried to steal your legacy, let me know in the comments how you handled it. The truth has a way of surfacing, even when it takes time.